3,000. Big. 31 target, north scope stack, 36,000, 13,000. Bang. 40 scope, short skate, hot, right.
This is the Be One Change One podcast, where our mission is to help listeners define values, practice integrity, and inspire change.
Our vision is to mentor men and empower them to achieve more by taking responsibility for shaping their own lives.
He's CAS, an evolving man who has been shaped by adversity and continues to grow through his imperfections.
And he's Roscoe, an imperfect work in progress that tries to suck less every day.
Between us, we have over 40 years of Air Force fighter pilot experience with countless hours as trainers, instructors, and mentors.
Join us and learn to take responsibility for your own life as we dive into subjects from leadership to resilience to vulnerability.
Be the one who changes their course. Be decisive, driven, and purposeful. Set the example for others. Lead. We wish we'd had this show when we were younger men.
Be the one.
I tried really hard to think of a funny story to tell. Actually, I told a funny story.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell it.
I don't think it's appropriate.
It's definitely not appropriate.
We
But-
got some young listeners, so
Yeah, we'll maybe modify it and make some metaphors out of it. But here's a good one. This has been a debate on this podcast before, and maybe you can either settle the tie or interject even more nebulous thought into it. You got to pick one food to eat forever.
Oh.
What is it?
One food. I'd probably go with pizza.
He said pizza, and I vetoed that because I think pizza is it's a combination of a lot of foods.
Vetoed, huh?
Yeah. So
That's what I was thinking.
for some reason,
What?
Roscoe
It's a
thinks he
combination
has-
of a lot of foods. So
Yeah.
I get my
no.
meat, I get
Just
my
one food.
foods, I get my carbs.
For some reason, Roscoe thinks he has veto power, but
Wait.
it's okay.
Well, one of us remembered to hit the fucking switch on the thing.
Well, yeah,
So,
got that going for you.
all right. So pizza. I said chicken. He said fish tacos.
I said tacos.
And I let fish tacos go, even though I probably shouldn't. But a taco is really a salad on a shell when you think about it.
Why are you so judgy this morning?
Well, I don't know.
Just go primal. just go steak.
Yeah,
Steak and
steak.
salt.
Yeah.
that
there you
would
go.
work. I
Well,
could do that.
that's why
too.
I
If
said
had to pick
chicken
maybe
because, like, you remember Bubba Gump, man. I mean, shrimp. You got sautéed shrimp, orange shrimp, lemon
Yeah.
shrimp, fried shrimp. Well, you can do the same shit with chicken, man. Chicken, you can cook it a million different ways.
one. But now you're adding things to it. And you said one thing.
Is salt a food, though? I think that's an accoutrement.
Now he's getting
That's a
French
big
on
jump.
us.
That's a good place to start.
Wow. The expansion of Roscoe's vocabulary.
That is.
You better look out, man.
Congratulations.
I read.
Ready?
I read. Just saying.
That's awesome.
Go ahead, dude.
All right. Well, we're excited to have Aaron Jelinek on the podcast with us today. Ice is a retired fighter pilot with nearly 3,000 hours in the F-16 and F-35. During his career in the Air Force, he served in both Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom. He also served as Thunderbird solo pilot number 6, right?
Yeah, 6 and 5.
Right on. A defensive legislative fellow and squadron commander. In fact, we were squadron commanders together. So since retiring in 2021, he has served as an F-35 contract instructor pilot for Lockheed Martin and also owns and operates Fast Jet Realty, an Arizona real estate brokerage focused on serving military families, veterans, and other clients and investors with their real estate needs. He lives in Litchfield Park, Arizona with his wife, Terry, of 14 years, and his son and daughter, and enjoys running, hiking, skiing in Park City. Very nice.
Yes.
And most of all, being a father. So, Ice, welcome to the
Thanks.
Be One Change One
Thanks,
podcast, man. It's awesome to have you here.
Why don't you stand up and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, for sure. Sounds like that's going to be. So
Yeah.
here I am.
There are no rules on this podcast, and well, actually, there's one rule. I'm responsible for my words, and you're responsible for your words.
Fair enough.
There's no editing. There's no chopping shit out. It is what it is.
Yeah.
So, anyways, yeah, welcome to the show, dude.
Thanks. Good to be here, Roscoe.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
So, Ice, give us a little bit of your background, man. Tell us about like how you got into the Air Force, what that path was like for you, why fighters, what drew you to all of that?
Yeah, I grew up in a pretty small town. I'd say less than 60, 70,000 people up in Washington State, right on the Snake River. And
Where?
Clarkston,
Okay.
where it's called. So it's about Washington State, University of Idaho. It's about 30 miles south of that. in the
Yeah, I
valley.
grew up on the west side and just south of Seattle.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So it's a small town, right? I had less than 200 kids in my graduating class. And so not like one of those 17 graduating class types.
That
But
was me.
yeah.
Yeah.
So a little more than that, but still not big. And, I just it's so complicated now, like where to send your kids to school.
Yeah.
Especially in Phoenix, when you have so many choices.
Yeah, it is.
I didn't have a choice. Like you went to the elementary school where you lived, and you went to the high school where you lived, and the middle school, and it was just easy. So I loved playing sports growing up. I had a brother who was 3 years older than me. He was an athlete. So, we had fun doing brother stuff and playing sports. And that's kind of just what I wanted to do. As far as grades, everything kind of came naturally to me. I was lucky when it came to that. I just didn't have to work that hard to do good enough not to get in trouble and to get good enough grades. So that's kind of where I was at academically. I was in the advanced classes. I did all that stuff, but it was never like a passion of mine that I wanted to be an academic or anything like that. So I wanted to play sports. So it was getting to that point, junior year-ish, where my dad asked me, what are you going to do with your life? And I think us as dads would have that conversation at some point. I told him I was going to play football, and he asked me where, and I said, well, Portland State. He goes, why? And I said, it's because it's the only school that sent me a letter.
Yeah.
Process of elimination.
It makes it pretty easy. And he's like, okay, are you going to go pro? Because that's income, that's money. And I said, probably not. That's why I'm only looking at Portland State.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you might want to think about something else. So it was a really good mentoring moment for me on, hey, go to this college fair up in Spokane, check things out, maybe look at other options.
Sure.
So I did that. He let me take his Audi A4 up to Spokane, which, as a 16-year-old probably wasn't a smart decision.
What a hard
trip. Yeah.
I probably made record time. But anyway, I went up there with a couple friends, went to this college fair, was just looking around, not really seeing anything. And I saw a booth for Embry-Riddle, which does a really good job for their advertising. And there's airplanes. And I was like, well, that would be fun. It's kind of like being an athlete. So I looked at that. I got their brochure. I came back. I said, okay, if I'm not going to go play football, I'll go to Embry-Riddle. Another mentoring moment. He's like, okay, great. How are you going to pay for that?
Right. That's the next question, right?
So I go, I don't know. I've got like, $100 in my account from working the last summer and spent the rest. So we looked at that too. And he helped again, kind of push me in the right direction for like, okay, so it's maybe a little late to apply for the academy. Not like I had the SAT scores for that anyway.
Yeah.
But we looked at ROTC. He helped drive me through that process. And I just applied for the scholarships, did the interviews, got a scholarship to Embry-Riddle. And it really went from there. People are like, well, you knew you wanted to be a pilot. They're like, how did you select your major? I selected my major because I went to the Embry-Riddle like guidance book for majors. And it was like, computer science is 4 years. Electrical engineering is 4.5. Aeronautical engineering is 5. And they would only pay for a technical degree, right?
Yeah.
So I go, 4 years. That sounds like the fastest way to go be a pilot. So I picked computer science, and the rest, it was just off to the races. And I feel like from that point to like the 20-year point when I retired, I never questioned like what I was going to do next.
Yeah.
And what a gift that is from the Air Force.
That's very true.
You don't have choices. Like kind of getting back to the school part where like choices require work and research and time. And I never felt like from when I showed up to college, I questioned like what I had to do next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how I got in the Air Force. The flying piece just sounded fun to me.
Did you do ROTC while you were
at
Embry-Riddle?
ROTC.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So again, like you show up to a school, you have Insta Friends or Insta Community.
Yeah.
Because the ROTC department is really big up there. It's like one of the largest in the nation. So that was just, I still have friends to this day that I talk to weekly or monthly that we just really bonded over that. And, they went on to do great things as well. And that's how I got in. And the flying piece, do I have history? My parents weren't in the military. My grandfather served in, World War II and Korea in the Guard. So, and he flew, P-51s and F-84s, which is, kind of cool history. So to have me do what I was doing and him see that was probably one of the coolest things because he just thought that was great. And he always said, oh, the Air Force is a great life. He would tell me like, you're going to love it, just stick with it. And he was definitely a driving factor and kind of motivator for me throughout my career.
I think the military is a good option for people who may need some structure in their life, especially if you're 100%. A young man, and you don't really know what you want to do and you're not sure about college, or maybe you don't have the grades for college. Mm-hmm. Getting into the military, because they do provide that structure, right? They give you something to wear.
Yeah.
They tell you when you need to be someplace and at what time. You kind of know
Yep.
what your mission's going to be every day, what you're doing. You know, there's a structure and a routine to it all that I think is very
Yeah.
beneficial. And you learn skill. There's plenty of opportunity if you play your cards right to move in different directions. Look at Roscoe's story.
Yeah, that was
know.
what you were just saying about the structure and everything. That's exactly what I needed at that time in my life.
Yeah.
And so enlisting in the Air Force gave me all those things and really set me on the path to be sitting here today because I made a decision when I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's if you're a young man or even a young lady that doesn't necessarily know what you want to do with the next 4 or 5 years of your life, that is a good option. And it can give you some really good ideas. It may even serve as process of elimination of like, well, this sucks. I don't want to do this anymore. But you get a lot of really good benefits out of it.
You do. You have a lot of options at the end of it because
Yeah.
even if you only do 4 years, well, now you got your GI Bill,
Exactly.
you know, and if you want to go
Yeah.
to college and you have a better idea of what you want to do, you know, now you've got some money to pay for it.
Get
So
a VA
anyways.
certificate, you can go buy a house, go
Yeah.
talk to ICE.
Yeah.
Yeah,
go talk to
absolutely.
ICE, get a house. There's all kinds of good things
Hey,
you could do.
so on that note, though, you made a comment in there. You were talking about when you joined the military, you said it was for the next 20 years. I kind of knew exactly what I had to do and where I was going to go and everything. But let's not let it get lost that doesn't necessarily have to be the case.
No.
Like you can choose your own adventure. If you're a career Air Force person, I've mentored a lot of young lieutenants over the years and young enlisted guys over the years. And I tell them, dude, there's no such thing as the way. Like get on a wave and ride it. If it looks fun, go freaking do it, man, because we all end up here. We all end up sitting in a room like this at the end of it and just have fun with it, man. Don't chase the rabbit so much.
Well, I think what's important to that is it's completely transferable to any other business, any other job, real life for everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Is you know, you can get involved in a career and you can be average and do the bare minimum and what you need to. And there's going to be certain progressions that you probably make along the way over time. And you can do that in the Air Force too, right? You can do that, just kind of do what you need to do to get to the next rank or, you know, the next opportunity, whether that's how we were growing up, you know, be a flight lead, be an IP, be a mission commander, whatever. But then there are other opportunities where if you can figure out how to kind of max perform and how to make yourself better over time without a lot of external influence, then opportunities open up to you, right? And I would imagine that that's what you did.
Yeah.
When you got in, right? You got serious about figuring out how to be really tactical, how to be a really good pilot, how to do and show up and be really good at what you did day to day. And that opened some doors for you.
Yeah.
It's kind of the segue into the T-Bird thing, right?
Yeah.
So talk to us about that. Tell us how that whole thing came to fruition. What was your thought process behind? What was that experience like? Because that's so unique to. I mean, most people don't become a Thunderbird or a Blue Angel, right? Like it's such a unique experience for guys in the military.
Yeah, I wish it was like a fairy tale story. It's a funny story, really, where as a fighter pilot, you just want to show up and be as tactical as possible every day.
Yeah.
So where that kind of drives you is when you're a wingman, you're the best wingman you can be on your flight lead. Try to be the best flight lead you can be, and then eventually as an instructor. And as an instructor, you want to be the instructor of instructors, right? Weapons school.
Yeah.
Right. You know that. So that's where I wanted to go. Right. So I was at Hill for my first assignment, went to Korea, upgraded to instructor. And then they, commanders and stuff, was like, hey, you want to extend at Korea? We can posture you.
Give us another 6 on the rack. Yeah.
Don't take a bad deal to get a good deal.
Never volunteer for a bad deal. Absolutely. So they said, hey, you know, we could posture you for this next class. And I said, or? And they said, or you can go to Luke and be an instructor. I said, that sounds great. So I went back to Phoenix to be instructor. And, you know, at that time, showing up at Luke, you're just at the bottom, right? Because there's 100 and some instructors there waiting to go to weapons school.
Yeah, it's a tough place to go to weapons.
Yeah, you weren't the best of the best anymore. You were just one of the best.
Yeah.
So I had really good conversations with, you know, my squadron commander at the time, and he's like, Ice, you're not my guy. Just very like, you showed up, you're not my guy. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, I appreciate the honesty though.
Yeah.
I said, okay, yeah, you do, but it hurts.
Yeah,
right. If it was a goal you had,
Of course it does.
Yeah, for sure. So the funny thing is, Tang, who I work with now, you know, he's a really good friend of mine. It didn't even matter if I was the guy or not, because in that transition from when I went to SOS and came to Luke, they had reduced the age requirement by a year.
Oh, I know exactly the time.
So that's when they cut it. So I was out of it anyway. So Tang, who's one of my best friends and was the patch and the top dog, just comes up to me, hands me my weapons school package back, and he's like, you're too old. And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And so I'm just sitting and scheduling, chief of scheduling, thinking about what I'm going to do with my life at that point. And I'm like, okay, I had started dating Terry by that point, and I kind of talked to her about it, and I go, hey, well, we're just going to be here for another couple of years. Like, it's not a bad place to be. Like, being an instructor, you can still make a difference, and then we'll just like trust God and like look for open doors. And the robot sends you these messages all the time, and the robot is like the automatic emails you get from the Air Force. And one of the emails that came through was like, we're accepting Thunderbird applications. And I'd never read it before.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to go to weapons school. I don't want to be a Thunderbird.
Yeah.
And now that door had closed, my eyes were open to other opportunities. So I went home, talked to Terry about it. And she was like, that sounds awesome. Like, you can do that? I said, yeah, I guess I'm qualified now that I've read the paragraph or whatever. She's like, yeah, you should totally apply. I don't think she knew what it looked like, or like what life,
what it all entailed,
would be, what it would entail. And I said, okay, yeah, I'll put the application together. So I started looking at the application, and one of the first requirements is like a full length photo, and I'm like, I'm out. and like 5 letters of recommendation and all this stuff. So to me at the time, it was like, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
I'm just maybe gonna just stay here and be happy instructing. And then Terry and I are, just laying down on the couch or something, and she's like, how's that Thunderbird application going? I go, I didn't even start it. And it was like a month from when they were due. And she's like, why not? Like, I think it'd be an awesome opportunity. You need to do something. So she was kind of pushing me in that direction. So I'm trying to get all this stuff together last minute. And, only so many people get recommended from their commanders and whatnot. And I was working in OGV at the time for the group commander. And it was the only, like, I had the wing commanders, I had like a couple of the generals that wrote letters of recommendation, but my OG had not. And I go, that's probably not going to look good. And like, maybe he's trying to send a message.
Yeah.
And it wasn't, like, he just forgot.
Yeah.
So I'm at OGV like the night of applications being due. He waiting for him to come back in the office, and I go, hey, sir, what about that letter of recommendation? And he's like, I thought we gave that to you already. Like, no. He's like, geez. He's all frustrated and like prints it out for me. He's like, here you go. And I literally like faxed the application. Like, I don't know,
With 5 minutes to spare.
5 minutes to spare or something like that. I'm like, well, that's never going to happen.
You got to be in it to win it.
Yeah, that's right. So then I just let it go. I'm like, yeah, give it to God. We'll figure out if it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And plus, nobody gets picked up on their first time.
Yeah.
Right. I've been there like 8 months, and it's not going to happen. So then for the process, after you put in an application, the first step is like semifinals. Right. So they're going to pick however many applications.
Do you know, like, roughly, like, how many guys they get to that apply?
I think my year there was 50 to 60.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
That applied. And I think they brought out 12 to 14, something like that, for semifinals.
Because how many jobs are they looking to fill? Isn't it like half the team?
Yeah, four. Yeah, it might be a little bit. I think it's always half.
Yeah.
They're doing the movements on the positions a little bit different now. But back in my team, they were hiring 3, 6, and 8, which was the advanced pilot. So we're like, okay, well, we'll wait and see. It's usually around Memorial Day or something if you get picked up for the semifinals. And I got a call from the OG commander when he was on a run around base or something like that. And he said, nice, you made semifinals. Congratulations. You got to go to Florida or wherever it was during this time. I'm like, okay. And so I came back. Terry was real excited. She's like, oh, that's going to be a cool experience. I was like, yeah, it'll be awesome. Get to go meet the team. Like, never done that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like going to Disneyland. All the characters, all their numbers. So went out to semifinals. And then that's when I like really fell in love with it. I was like, wow, this is cool. Like, what an awesome mission.
Yeah.
They're having fun. Like, they're not failures. They're like awesome pilots. And like, there's tons of weapons school grads and stuff like that. Just like, these are tactical fighter pilots. These are people like I'm hanging out with now in the squadron, but you get to go, fly at 100 feet upside down and narrowly avoid death every day, which is awesome. And the mission they had, which you don't see the behind the scenes all the time with, Make-A-Wish and all of the different PR events they get to do, and just how much they make a difference. And the flying is just a very, very small part of it. Was something that kind of hit my heart. And I was like, that's awesome. Like, I would love to be a part of that.
Yeah.
So then I wanted it. Now I'm like anxious. I'm like, oh, I hope I get this. I think it'd be really cool. So you just do best you can at where you're at.
Yeah.
You get interviewed, and you wait. And I was like, Terry, there's a lot of people that applied. I don't think we'll get picked up on the first time, but it's something I would love to do. Maybe apply again next year or whatnot. So we were engaged. We had bought a house, literally painting our house in June, right? Just closed on it. And he calls and he's like, you made the finals. And I was like, okay, thanks, sir. That's awesome. Like, finish painting the house, tell Terry, and we're going to go out to the finals. And during that, I don't know if they still fly with them or not, but you got put in the back seat and they took you on a flight in a Thunderbird jet, which was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. It was a really cool experience that I'd never got to do before. And went through that interview, and there was, I think, 5 they brought out for the 5 they brought out for the 3 positions that they were hiring. And I'm looking at the 5, you kind of size yourself up. I got a chance.
Yeah.
And it was cool when the team finally called. They like, hey, congratulations, you're going to be the next solo pilot. And I was like, good, because that's the only position I really wanted.
Yeah.
But you can't say that.
Right. You can't say that.
Like, I just want to be on the team. But, if you're flying, you're like, that's the one you wanted. So I'm like, perfect fit. That's awesome. Can't wait. Face Goodman was my lead solo, and I knew I was going to get to like fly and work with him for that year. And I was super pumped about that. And that was just a real high. I remember we were driving around in Sedona, and the whole team called. Like, you're on speakerphone with the Thunderbirds.
That's so
like,
cool.
That's cool.
It's so cool. We're excited to have you. So then, Terry and I just closed on the house, painted it. We got married in September 1st. And then her first Air Force assignment was moving to Vegas October 1st to be on the Thunderbirds.
Welcome to the Air Force, Eddie.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's quite the initiation. One of the things, just listening to your story, it was, I think a lot of times we get wrapped up in, when we're talking about setting goals and the things that are out in front of us, and we get this mentality of, man, I got to get this. If I don't get this, my life is over. But it sounds like you didn't really necessarily take that attitude into it. You're like, this is really cool, and if this happens, this is going to be awesome. But like, there's a whole nother life out here that I could be part of. Did I pick that up right? Or,
for sure.
Or were you like, man, if I don't make the T-Birds, my life is over?
No, absolutely not.
Well, but I think what's even cooler is, like, because we talk all the time, you may have a goal that you're striving towards. So, like, let's say for you at the beginning, it was weapons school.
Yeah.
But there's such, right? Sometimes there's things that are outside of your control that close those opportunities, right?
Yeah.
And it's really nothing that you did wrong or anything that was, something that you had control over. That just, that opportunity kind of goes away, and you have a choice to make there, right? Are you going to do the woe me's, or do you pivot and start to look for other opportunities that allow you to kind of do similar things, or still to move yourself or progress yourself down that road? And that's really what I loved about your story, guys, because that's exactly what you did, man. You were like just sitting there going, well, I guess I won't be a Pat, so I'm just going to just sit here and
just be a
I'll just sit on my hands and give up. Like, you're like, well, and even then you were like, Thunderbirds, well, maybe not. You're kind of dragging your feet, but then you did it, and look at the opportunity that presented, and how much that probably changed. Well, what a cool fucking opportunity to be a part of the team, right?
Amazing.
But also, those are the types of things in our career field that set you apart, for down the road, for promotion or for opportunities to command and things like that. So it's just another feather in your cap.
Well, for the listeners, one thing that I would, I listen to the guys like Tony Robbins and Ed Milet and a lot of these really powerful speakers who have a huge platform on just the mental and psychological aspect of your life and how much you can change just by changing your thought patterns and things like that. And they talk about this thing called the reticular activating system. It's a part of your brain that basically filters out the shit that you're looking for. So if you're in the market for a red Corvette and you start thinking about red Corvettes, when you drive down the highway, you're going to see a bunch of red cars, right? Well, the same can be said, though, when that door closed, when that weapons school door closed for you and you knew that opportunity was no longer on the table for you, well, that went into your reticular activating system. And now your aperture is opened a little bit more to see those things and to be able to filter in, allow some of those things to come through that filter. And you go, oh, wait a minute, Thunderbirds, never thought of this before because I was so focused on this patch. And if I don't get that, then my life is over. Well, shit. Well, now your aperture is open and you see that Thunderbird opportunity for what it is. So for the listeners, like if one door closes, another one's going to open. Be mindful of those opportunities that come up.
Yeah. Well, and be ready to pivot, right? Because we talk about it's if you get too singularly focused that there's only one way that you can achieve certain goals in your life. Well, that might not be the path that you're supposed to walk. There may be other ways to kind of meander your way to that same overarching objective or goal, but there's other pathways to get there, and you got to remain. You got to keep your aperture open and remain open to that stuff, or you'll miss those opportunities.
You're going to be told no, and you're going to have doors closed in your face, and you're going to fail. But those present decision points in your life, and you can decide to either walk forward or stay where you're at. And I believe in like there's definitely some truth and some honor in be where you're planted. The grass is green where you water it. That kind of whole mentality. I 100% agree, but I'm just saying, when you reach those decision points, I mean, I had one when I applied for OTS the first time. My commander told me kind of the same thing. He goes, "Yeah, I'll be honest with you, man. It's all right. It's not great. It's all right." So he didn't sign it, and I could have went back and just been the best tech sergeant I could have been, and probably made master and retired and great. But I kept going to school and I kept pressing. Got a couple more awards. Went back in 2 years later, and that commander was like, "Hell yeah, man! This is awesome." Yeah. So just your mentality going into these things can totally change your world.
Yeah, it's that recalculating piece. There's a sermon that just, from one of our pastors that hit with me years ago. It was the old school GPSs, right? That would sit on top of your dash or whatnot. And
Tom.
Yeah, Tom or something like that, right? And then you'd run into like an end of a road or something like that, or it'd just say like recalculating. Like you're supposed to go this way. It's recalculating. It goes this way instead of just automatically doing it for you like it does now. And I really look at life like that now.
Yeah.
Just something didn't work out. Okay, but what is going to work out?
Yeah,
you're going to have obstacles and adversity, and it's just how you deal with it and how you press forward and move through it, right?
Yeah. So I think a lot of people, though, a lot of people just it's hard for them to get past that, and I don't know if it's just the way that we're brought up in the military, like you were talking about. When you said you had everything laid out in front of you, let's not just skip over the fact that from the time that you started ROTC, like from then on, man, it was a lot of hard work. Mm-hmm. Like 4 years in ROTC, you're competing to get that pilot slot, and you got to be the best. Yeah, and then you finally go to pilot training, and you're competing to get that fighter cockpit, and you got to be the best. And then you finally get to your first ops squadron, and you got to be the best so that you can be the best wingman and get all the, so it doesn't stop.
Yeah, upgrade timelines happen differently.
You get used to it
based on performance.
Not easy. I think that we get used to it because we're told we suck a lot. In debriefs and I mean, I know that's on a very small scale, but I mean, we all bust rides. I mean, I did my DCA ride that I finally passed had 4 X's on it. Yeah. So I had to ask my DO, should I be worried about this? And he goes, no. Has the commander talked to you yet? No. He said, just press. But we get used to that. We're kind of conditioned to accepting failure, learning from it, and moving on. What about the guys out there who aren't like that?
Yeah.
Who they're just kind of on cruise control. They're in their comfort zone. And then all of a sudden life deals them this big blow and they may not know how to deal with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely right. And I saw that when we were commanders, CAS, with, airmen and things like that, where, life deals you those blows.
Yeah.
It's not just like your job or anything like that, that we are in a system that is designed to like break you.
Yeah.
And then just pull back. And then that's your max performance.
Yeah.
But, when I was a commander, you'd see this happen to airmen who had never failed in their entire life.
Yeah.
And when they broke,
they broke hard.
They broke hard.
Yeah.
And they were and it could be anything from work to where they got involved with the wrong people socially, made a bad decision, got punished for it. They'd never received punishment. It could have been their marriage when they got married out at tech school at 18 that had failed, and they were, too ashamed to share that with their parents who thought they were on this pedestal and things like that.
Yeah.
And you just really had to watch out for that. And sometimes you didn't catch it.
Yeah.
So then you would have unfortunate, the suicides or the attempts or the drug abuse or the domestic violence and just things that would start to just snowball.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a really tough thing in the military to deal with. And I think on the fighter pilot side, you're just ingrained in it so quickly that hey, you failed. Like, okay, but we're going to go do it again tomorrow, and they're going to pick you back up.
Yeah, they do.
Where a lot of people are in a situation where there's nobody to pick them up.
Yeah.
And they got to just find their own way through. Hopefully they have faith or something like that they can lean on. Some people don't.
Yeah.
And it's just them, and they're lonely, and then stuff starts to derail at that point.
Well, that's where mentorship is so important, I think, because when we talk about the fighter squadron is such a unique environment because one, it's mostly type A's. Everybody's pretty self-motivated, right? Guys are pretty hard charging for the most part.
Mhm.
So there's not a lot of external stuff that has to happen for guys to want to do what they have to do to perform well.
Yeah.
But there's also that, even though it's, not mentorship like the way we think about it, but every upgrade ride you do is basically mentorship, right? And like you said, you fail and you sit there and you debrief it for 3 or 4 hours. You take the lessons learned, you figure out how to apply it to the next one, and then you go try it again and see if you can get it to work, right? We're there, but I think that's very unique. And so I think that's why, finding mentors in your life so that when you do hit those obstacles or those roadblocks, and somebody who's maybe in the same career field that you're in, or maybe sitting in the position that you want to get to, guarantee you they probably maybe not had the exact same thing happen to them, but they've faced obstacles like whatever you may be going through at the time.
Yeah.
And they can help kind of give you those left and right boundaries and some guideposts and some encouragement on how to overcome that stuff.
Well, talent and skill go into this too. If you're a guy who's tremendously talented at flying airplanes, then some of that is going to come naturally easy to you, whereas somebody else may have to work really hard just to get that part right.
Yeah,
I got to get through instrument phase. It's really tough for those guys. But when we're talking about the growth mindset and the fixed mindset and things like that, I think that's where our community probably is set apart from a lot of other communities. Is we force you to have a growth mindset almost. Like you have to take this L and you have to get better or you're out.
Yeah.
Like it's just black and white. I remember when we were in the 425th, there was this one student that was doing an upgrade, and we went in, we debriefed him, and he failed the ride. He hooked it and came back the next day and did it again. He did his exact same game plan that day. Yeah. And I told him at the end of the debrief, I said, dude, here's the deal. All right. I'm going to keep busting you on this ride until you change. You have to change something. You have to do this differently because what you're doing is not working. And he came back, he changed his game plan a little bit, and we let him move on. But that's kind of the mentality that we have going through this. And we apply that to our own lives in a lot of ways. This investment didn't work out. What am I going to do? I'm going to try to learn from it, and I'm going to move on and make another investment.
Yeah. It's good stuff, man. So then what was the T-Birds like, man?
What a blast.
Yeah.
Just a whirlwind, a blast. I'm glad it was only 2 years.
Yeah.
You're just kind of ready for it at that point to be done.
Is that just because of the pace?
Yeah, I think the pace and just, at the end, flying wise, you're doing the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
You're doing a great mission, but you're not doing the mission you were trained to do as a fighter pilot.
Sure.
So you want to get back there eventually. And then just kind of next steps at that point with leadership and things like that you're ready for, especially as, one of the solo pilots. You guys still got a DO and a commander and all that stuff. And you're like, okay, I want to do that now. I want to go strive to try to do something like that leadership wise versus just continuing to fly. And the hardest part for me, I think, was our second year we did a European tour. It was awesome. It was amazing. I think we did like 11 countries in the 6 weeks.
Jeez.
Just incredible experience, right? We are flying out of Aviano to do a show down off the coast. And
Aviano's in Italy for the listeners.
Yeah. I think Shaw or one of the Block 50 squadrons is over there, staying in the same hotel, flying missions to Libya.
Oh, yeah.
So we're getting back at the same time. We're in our Mickey Mouse suits, flying air shows. Those guys are coming in like all their, LPUs and full combat gear, armed
all
up,
jacked up on rippets,
just dropping on SAMs and just like out of their minds. And you're just like, oh man, yeah. I'm looking forward to getting back to doing the mission again.
Yeah.
Because you don't feel like you're part of it really, but you're like, okay, I'm doing a very important mission, but I'm not doing the fighter pilot mission right now. So it was just awesome. The flying part was awesome. The team I was on, especially my second year, we bonded just incredibly. And that experience in itself, when you're part of a team that just wants to focus on the right things and making a difference, was just a great experience. But when it was time to be over, you want to give somebody else that experience too. Yeah. So to see somebody else come in and replace you and do the same thing, it's like, see, I wasn't that good.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't me. It was like Thunderbird 5 and Thunderbird 6, you know. So you get a little bit of the celebrity, right? You get a little bit of that where they're spoiling you with like good deals, but they're doing it because they're putting you in a place where other people want to see you and hang out with you. It's kind of, it's not Mickey Mouse at Disneyland, but it's kind of, right?
Yeah.
You are not like, I'm not famous, right? My face,
Sure.
but the suit with the 6 and the 5 on it, and like the dream that represents,
especially at air shows and stuff like that. Yeah,
you know, people, and you just want to be the best number, whatever you can be, to make sure that you don't ruin that experience for somebody, because you're having a bad day.
Yeah,
which is probably the toughest part about it, right? You got to be on all the time.
Yeah, that would be hard.
That's tough. Holy shit. Well, I
would not have been able to do it.
I remember back to this this conversation I was having with
I would have never made the interview process probably.
A former commander was talking to me one time about how we carry ourselves around the base, and the flight suit in the Air Force this is the way he explained it. He said the flight suit is the most coveted uniform in the Air Force around your base. That's what the young airmen are looking up to. So if you're walking into the BX from your car and you don't put your hat on, what kind of message is that sending to the young airmen? Because whether you like it or not, those guys are looking up to you. And I'm sure you had probably a lot of that same experience, even probably on another level.
Scale,
yeah, definitely. You want to set the good example, and you want to, you know, meet their expectations, but like exceed those. And you want to send a message because you have a platform.
Yeah.
Really, for like the first time, maybe other than like being an instructor and having a small platform for who you're instructing or whatnot. But
did you ever jump out of the jet with your MAGA hat on or anything?
No, I never did that.
Didn't use your platform for that?
No. But when you're talking to, you know, large groups at schools and things like that.
Yeah, and you're a captain right now.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
you're
captain.
Right,
like,
you're a captain.
Yeah. So
it's a lot of responsibility.
It's a lot of responsibility. The coolest, I still remember it to this day. I had a crew chief, Paul Hooks, just amazing person. He was from Bossier City, Louisiana. We were down there flying out of Barksdale, and we went to his high school. Like, so it was, you know, Thunderbird 6. Like, we're going to the high school to talk, and like I wanted to make it all about him.
Yeah,
you know. But so I open it up, and I really want to, you know, give it to him to like share his story, because it was a very tough area, very tough high school. And his mom was just an amazing person, hosted us, the whole team. We had like all these crawfish and stuff like that out of Louisiana.
Speaking my language,
cooked him up. It was unbelievable. And the whole team showed up, like maintainers, pilots, everybody was there hanging out. Went back to the hotel. Him and I had this school visit the next day. And the whole school's in there, you know when you're connecting people, and you know when you're not. And it was just kind of quiet, but some people were into it, right? And I got the crowd going a little bit. So they're like, okay, we're not in class. We're listening to this clown right now. And hopefully getting the message through. And when Paul spoke, like everybody was just engaged and listening, and just like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, you made it out of this to go do something like that.
That's powerful.
Yeah. And then like probably the most uncomfortable thing I've ever had happen to me. Somebody up in the top was like, he's like, hey, pilot, I got a question for you. And I'm like, what? She's like, why were you out with your team hanging out in the ghetto last night? And that's my exact face. Your guys' faces right now were my face. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking. Like, we had a great dinner last night. It was amazing. And this was going on in my mind.
Yeah, you're like, what is it?
I was just like, and Paul looks at me like, that's not his question. That's my question. And like, he gave this response, like he didn't even let me talk.
Yeah.
He was just like, I'm about to like put you in your place on asking us that question. And it was just so powerful, his response on like, he basically gave his testimony at that point, like his story, and unbelievable response from the room at that point. And it was just one of those times where like that student in the back was trying to bring the moment down on like we're not getting out of here. Like, don't believe what they're saying.
Yeah.
Don't put your goals too high. And Paul just put her in her seat, and
That's
said,
awesome.
"You can do anything you want to do. Look at me."
Yeah.
It was awesome. Like I got chills right now just because I'm just like, that was the most uncomfortable I've ever been.
Yeah.
And to have him just jump in like that and, protect his pilot for one, because he's like, whatever you're going to say right now is probably the wrong response. Like, I'm just going to give you that. So when he came through with the response, and then to see her just kind of like sit back and kind of, think about what she just said, and to have the whole room support Paul on his response and kind of just how engaged they were with questions and things like that from that point, you're like, man, I think we made a difference today.
Yeah, that's cool,
Like
man.
like not me, but like we as a team, and like that is a powerful, powerful thing that I'll always hold with me. And there was a lot of moments like that. That's just one example of them.
Yeah,
that's awesome. I had an experience when I was coaching football, sort of similar to this. You're out there as a coach, and we got these young kids out there, and we're trying to get them to do these things that are way outside of their comfort zone. Some kids are better at others. Some kids have better or different mentalities than others, and obviously physical gifts and talents. But when I would bring down some of the high school players that I'd coached before, I'd bring them down and have them go into practice and run some of the stations. The kids really connected with them because it was more, I don't want to say on their level.
a little more peer-to-peer, though.
Yeah, but they could relate to that, And so maybe those kids really responded to him in a similar way because this is familiar. Like we can relate to this guy, this guy who's got all the shiny shit on his shoulders and grew up in Washington. Like, fuck that guy, right? But this dude, he's a hometown bro, and we can tell he's got scars on his knuckles and shit, and we can relate to that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, what a unique experience too, like as a young captain, to go through something like that, because we're so insulated in the fighter squadron, and you're so typically focused on, I mean, you're part of the team, but you're focused on what you need to do to get to the next upgrade, or, the next job that you're going to go into, or get into weapon school, or becoming a Thunderbird, or whatever the case may be, right? But to see at such an early stage in your career, like the impact that you can actually have.
Yeah.
Just with your story, did that open up like your aperture at all as you moved into command for just how to, I would imagine that changed your perspective and just kind of the lens that you viewed other people through to an extent, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's just like people, like, they want to be like motivated. Like, look at the self-improvement.
Yeah, sure.
Exactly.
Library, right? Everybody reads it. Everybody, wants to do better, but they also want attention, and they just want you to care about them.
Yeah. There's so much truth in that.
Yeah.
So that's the best thing you can do at a PR event or something like that. I guarantee you probably nobody wants to be at that PR event on the team because you had just briefed, or probably done a school visit or a hospital visit in the morning. You had briefed, debriefed, or flown, debriefed, and now it's time to go to the PR event at like 7 p.m. and you've been there since 8 in the morning or whatnot. But you just got to recheck yourself at sometimes. And if you're at that PR event, people are coming up to you having questions, and you're not looking at them in the eye, you're looking around like, when are we going to get out of here? Looking at your watch. People are going to remember and notice that.
Yeah.
So you just have to like look at them, care about them, like what's going on in your life right now that you want to have this conversation, and like, let's talk about that, and have a meaningful conversation, and then you move on to the next one. You can't be like, oh, then there's this person, and go talk to somebody else until that conversation's finished and be like, oh yeah, they're just blowing me off or whatnot. And people want that attention. So if you can give them that attention, I think that's a really powerful thing. And that's what I probably took most, like, to the commander side, is like, hey, when you're talking to somebody, like, talk to them.
Yeah.
Finish the conversation. Don't fake it.
Yeah.
Be genuine, care about them, and then move on to the next one.
Yeah, that was something that we talked with why am I forgetting her call sign?
Gringo.
With Gringo yesterday, when in command, like, just the importance of, you got to have those conversations with people sometimes. And it's as a commander, sometimes it's hard to find time in your schedule, but when people come into your office, you've got to set that time aside and give them your full attention and walk through that process with them. It's really important.
Well, we've been on the other side of it too, where, maybe I'm going to the commander's office and seeking some guidance, or have a question, or just need to get some shit off my chest or whatever. And maybe he says, yeah, come on in, but you can tell that he's not engaged. But I've also had commanders, Face was one of them. I've had commanders that would say, hey man, give me 10 minutes. And so that way he was able to finish what he was doing and then give me his undivided attention. And that's probably the way it should work.
That's a
rather
good
than
technique.
rather than sit there and fake it for 5 minutes.
Right.
And I can tell that you're not into it. Just, dude, be honest, man. Hey man, give me 10. I'm working on something right now. I'll finish this up and I'll come find you.
I do that at home now. Like
Yeah.
Danny will come home from school and he'll want to share something with me, and I may be in the middle of doing something on the computer, and I'll go, hey dude, just give me 10 minutes so I can finish this up, because I'm in the middle of a thought and I want to be able to give you my undivided attention.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's a great technique.
yeah.
And they understand that too.
Yeah, they do. They know you're busy.
Yeah. So at some point in there, before or after command, you went from Vipers to F-35s.
Yeah.
What the heck was that transition like?
It was fun.
Yeah.
So I went to DC, right, to do the fellowship, and I was only there a year and a half, and then came back to Luke, and then I TX flugged IPUG back to the Viper.
Mm-hmm.
And then as a DO in the 21st for 6 months in the Viper. And I guess I was doing okay, because the OG at the time was like, what are you doing over here? You don't have enough visibility, like, for me to do what I want to do with you.
Mm-hmm.
I go, well, okay, well, either move me or do something with me.
Yeah,
like you're a new DO. You're like, what am I supposed to do? Like,
I just went to Bubba Gump or to Bubba on Forrest Gump. I do what you tell me to.
Yeah,
Sergeant.
100%.
I'm just where you put me, man.
So, it's kind of, I was like, to tell you right now, I can't solve your problem. But I had a great commander. Wyatt was awesome commander.
Yeah, Wyatt is an awesome dude.
And he was always like, what do you want to do next? As soon as I showed up to be a DO, I'm like, I just want to do this awesome for a while. And then he's like, nope, we got to start talking about like what's next. I go, okay. So we had that conversation, and F-35 was in there.
Mm-hmm.
And we were like, okay, do you want to go there? He's like, yeah, there's probably not positions, but I'll keep that on the back burner. He's like, you want to go command? I was like, yeah, that'd be awesome. Do you care what squadron? No, I don't care. And Chaka came over, and there was he was looking for Wyatt, and Wyatt's probably like walking around somewhere at 9 a.m. when 21st flying's done.
Yeah.
Doing post-flight stuff. And he's like, where's Wyatt? I'm like, I don't know. But the DO, you protect the commander. And you're like, no, just come in my office. And he's like, stares at me. And he's like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm like, okay, let me go get Wyatt, because I don't know what's about to happen.
Yeah. This sounds bad.
So then I go get Wyatt, and we go in his office, and he's like, it was kind of like that. I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm sending you to Top Gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind of one of those conversations. I'm like, he's like, I'm going to send you to, Eglin in December. You're going to transition to the F-35. And I'm like, all right, that sounds awesome, And then what? And he's like, we'll figure that out later. I'm like, okay. There's just a door. I'm like, I'm not going to pass up on that door at that time. And I got to go down there with Tang. We were in the same course. My brother-in-law was also the squadron commander down at the 58th at the time.
Cool.
It was course I was going to be going through. And we're married to twins. So the sister was going to get together with her sister and the cousins. And it was just 3 months of fun.
Yeah.
And then learning the F-35. That was back when the course was 8 rides for a TX Flug IPUG.
Wow.
And it was great. I loved that upgrade.
Here's the -1 you're flying tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. And so just early on in the program, probably the first 100 Air Force pilots or so, I'm guessing, first 100 or 200. And then come back at Luke, and we get to stand up operations, and we know where it's at now.
Yeah.
It's just a huge operation, and to be part of that was pretty awesome. To do that from the beginning, I think was cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. We've seen kind of the gamut over I've been there for a little over 5. You've been there, 3 or so? Yeah. So we've kind of seen the gamut of the guys will come in and do 2 or 3 rides, and the guys will come in and do, 25 rides. And it's been interesting to watch that kind of evolve. And what I think is really unique right now, we're kind of getting towards the tail end of this, I believe, but in the early stages of it, it was a melting pot of the community. Is just it's a glorious melting pot of people. You got guys from all different communities that come in there that are bringing all different ideas and tactics, and it gets muddy.
Countries
It gets super muddy sometimes because my way's the best. But it's really started to evolve into kind of its own animal over the last, I would say, 18 to 24 months or so.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's a growth industry for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing. Job security and shit.
That's right.
So Speaking of though, so you got done with your command. What was that? A couple of years, I guess.
Just 2 years.
Yeah, and then you retired.
No.
Oh,
Yeah, I got done with command, and we were slated to go to DC for STE, like continue the next step.
yeah.
And that was probably the first time in my Air Force career was we might have another option.
Right.
And I talked to Terry about it. Terry's obviously from Phoenix, so she was home already, and we'd been home for 4 years at that time, 4.5 years. Oh, by the way, her sister was moving back because AB was going to be the OG.
Oh, okay.
And there was an opportunity if we stayed for us to be together, like as families,
Yeah.
with the kids and stuff. And she's like, "What do you think about that?" And I was like, "I can keep flying. We're not going to promote or anything like that." And I think, which we've never had this in the Air Force before, that they're open to that.
Yeah, like and staying in the same location. Past 3 years,
same
right?
location.
Yeah.
So everything just kind of came together.
Yeah.
So we just prayed about it. We put it in God's hands. You don't want to be the first person to, tell the commander that you're going to test this new like option that's available to you, because it's challenging, right? So there's a couple of us that were interested. Text trains going back and forth like, "Did you do it yet? Did you do it yet?" So finally I just did it. Like I called the OG. I was like, "I need to have a meeting with you." And he's like, "What's going on, Ice?" I'm like, "I think I'm going to defer STE."
Was it
Strict
Bach?
command. It was Bach. Yeah. And I want to stay here if that's an option. And he's obviously like, "Okay, you're sure about this?" "Yeah, I'm sure about it." So he had to think through it, right? We had a bunch of conversations on it, and then he had eventually told the wing commander at the time, which was Tank.
Tank.
And I was sitting in stand up one day. Tank was great. All he did was come up to me after stand up. He's like, "Yeah, Bach told me about your decision, and that could not have been an easy decision for you." Which I took as a compliment. Like if I wanted to go do what I was going to go do, I had good potential to do that. And he was just like, "I know that wasn't an easy decision for you, but if you want to meet with me, great. Otherwise, I don't need to meet with you." Where in the past, that would have been like, "You're meeting with this commander, this commander to try to talk you out of the decision you're about to make." And Bach had the, probably the best response. He's like, "I'm just kind of worried about you. Like when you do this, because as a commander, you can see the position you're going to be in, because I still had 4 years left and I'm going to be level.
Yeah.
Hopping around jobs for the first time in my life.
Kind of the lame duck of the
when it's just been like next step. And he's like, "But if that's what you want to do for your family, like we'll support it."
Yeah.
And that's the decision we made. So we just went with it. And I didn't want to be the guy, because I could, in accordance with the regulations or whatever, I could have deferred SDE the day before I left. Right. And then the school slot, which I was going to, would have had to fill that with probably somebody from the Beltway.
Yeah.
Not another fighter pilot, which they were competitive slots at that point. And it just wouldn't make it. So I deferred it early.
Yeah.
I want AFPC to have opportunity to fill this with the alternate and give somebody else this opportunity. But it also like opened me up to, things that could happen to me.
Sure.
So I didn't have like the blanket of you're protected anymore.
Yeah.
But Tank was like, "Hey, what do you think about being the director of staff?"
Yeah.
And I was like, "Really? Yeah, I think you'd be great for it. Like you're a great commander. I think this would be a good next step for you in the 05 position. And that's what I want you to do." So like, I basically told him I was, quitting on the Air Force at that point, but still wanted to work hard. And he wanted to bring me in, as kind of one of the leaders of the wing, if you will, to support him in the 05 level, not 06 level, but 05 level. And that meant a lot to me. That's confidence. And then I got to serve 3 wing commanders, which maybe was a little bit too long up there, but it was okay.
Staff, man. I did that job.
I know.
A year's enough.
But yeah, no, it was awesome. So I did director of staff, and then I went over before I retired, deputy MSG for a little bit. Worked with Rye, and then ended up getting out and retiring. And that was kind of how that ended. So there was like 4 years after command.
Yeah.
Where I just hung out at Luke, and
I think we all just naturally get to a point where you're going to have to make some of those hard decisions in your life, and I know that you and we've had similar conversations where you make that transition. I mean, think about it, dude. We in the communities we served, we had a different identity, and I think we got lost in that at times, probably, especially when we were younger men. And as you grow, as you mature, as you progress down your career ladder, you get married, you have kids. I mean, your circumstances change, your life
priorities change,
your priorities change, your life changes. And at some point you stop thinking about being a zipper suited sun god, and you start thinking about, well, how's this going to affect, what's the ripple effects of this decision going to be? Like, where are my kids going to go to school? I don't want them to go to school in the middle of DC or whatever that decision point is, and I had one of those leaving Mountain Home. I was in the window to retire at Mountain Home, and then I got the assignment down here. We weighed that decision over the 7 days, and we elected to come down here, and glad we did. Loved it. But I know you had a similar story, getting towards the end, where you and Alicia had to have some of those talks.
Yeah, well, we had been here about, well, I guess when I made my decision, we had been here probably about 2.5 years, but we're going to be here for 4.
Yeah.
But all of my kids were kind of getting up into high school. Alicia had gone back to ASU and gotten her second master's degree, got a job at the VA, was kind of getting settled on her career path. And all of our kids just like, especially our 2 youngest, they just had this great group of, they built this great friend group while we were here. And it was kind of the first time, because they were older too, that, that we were in place long enough for that to happen.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there and I know school in DC is next. And so I'm talking to Alicia about it, and she's like, well, if you're going to go to school for a year, we'll probably just stay here and you can just commute back and forth. And I'm like, well, do I really want to spend another year away from my family? Like, I've already spent so much time. My kids are they're getting into high school. I want to be at games. I want to do all the stuff, and then too, once you become an 06, you're just, you really lose all control at that point.
Oh yeah.
Because the 06 board can basically do whatever they want. And I know for me, because you were on a faster timeline than I was. In order for me to kind of get back on timeline to be GO, I was probably looking at either my group command or my wing command being a remote 1 year somewhere to get the square checked, so that I would be young enough still to be competitive for general officer. And just none of that was appealing to me anymore.
Yeah, and it makes complete sense, man. I mean, even the greats have to hang them up sometimes, and that's a hard decision.
It was.
That's a really hard decision, I think, for somebody who's devoted, I mean, in all of our cases, at least 20 years to it. That's your entire adult life, from the point where, in some cases when you're 15 years old, all the way up until, your early 40s, you've devoted all of your energy into this one thing, and then you have to make that decision, and that's fucking hard, man.
It is.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
Yeah, it is.
And it feels selfish at the moment.
Yeah,
it
kind of
really
does.
feels selfish.
Yeah.
I think that's just institutionally maybe how it is, but when you get to be a commander, you want to serve the airmen and the people who are you're commanding. And if you're a good commander and you can take care of those people, you just want to keep doing that.
That's very true.
Yeah.
So when you make a decision not to do that, it's almost like you're walking away from a family in order to prioritize something else. And I still struggle with that because I don't lead at the level I'd ever led, right now. I lead my family and peers and friends and things like that. But I just am not in a position where I have that opportunity.
Do you do any volunteer work or anything?
Yeah, with the church.
Okay.
And, I coach.
That's a great way to give
things
back.
like that.
Yeah.
And we go to Feed My Starving Children and things like that. But it is a great way to get back. It's not the same as, here's 200 people, figure it out.
Yeah.
Or 500
Well, I think what was, at least for me, what was so much fun about being a commander was having the opportunity to influence other people's career paths and trajectory, and being able to move guys and put guys in play for things, and
take care of
them, and to have those conversations like you were talking about, where you sit down and, like with Wyatt, but you're the commander and you go, all right, dude, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
What's the next step? What's your goals? What's, where do you want to be in at the end of this assignment?
Yeah.
And then trying to figure out ways to help facilitate them if they're worth that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and you always feel connected to those people. Like I'll still have airmen that served with me retire, and I know how hard it was for me. Like when I retired on the transition, like you go through that year or two. I'm probably still going through it, to tell you the truth, on like what I want to do next.
It's tough.
It's very, very tough.
It is.
And I know that like during that first year, I just questioned myself so many times. And, that's continues to this day for me. But
Yeah.
I look at airmen on social that are retiring and I just try to just check up on them.
Yeah.
Be like, hey man, how are you doing? Like, how's it going?
Yeah.
And then be like, I'm working at a warehouse or something like that. And I'm looking for another job and just see if there's anything out there that you can still help them out with. Cause it's not easy to retire from something you've done for so long. And then all of a sudden look at having the same impact right when you get out,
Yeah.
But it's not just that though. It's the community, it's the brotherhood, it's the camaraderie and all that. And somebody hands you a flag one day and that shit's over with. And that's a hard pill to swallow, man. And I know I went through my 2 or 3 years of self-destruction before I finally made a conscious decision to climb up out of it. I mean, I gained a lot of weight. My back was broken. I got really good at watching Netflix and Cheez-Its. And one day I just decided, you know what, fuck this. I'm going to get back in the game, and that was 2.5, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And, it's a hard climb to get out of that. And that's really almost kind of where this podcast came from in its infancy anyways, was Cass and I were having a conversation about, not that we're bored with life, but we've got so much more that we can give.
Yeah.
And we found this as a great outlet to have some of these discussions and bring guys like you on to tell these stories. And hopefully, if Cass and I can't relate to them, maybe Ice can, and maybe they latch onto the Thunderbird story and they can change their life and move to the next level. So,
yeah, well, I mean, we all go through transitions in life, right? And some are easier and some are more difficult. But again, it's that you're going to face adversity. It's going to come in different forms, and it's really just how you approach it and what you. So, how have you dealt with that adversity of that transition, Ice? Like, what have been the tenets or the pillars that have kind of helped you navigate that transition?
Yeah, I think church has been really good for me.
Yeah, so faith is important.
Yeah,
too.
that's really important to me, and just I'm always like falling short. Like that's my biggest hurdle for me, is like I always feel like I'm falling short of somebody's expectations.
Yeah.
And just to know, like, all right, God's got me. Like that's the only person or the only God I'm trying to impress. I'm not trying to impress anybody else. And just being okay with that and knowing that I accept Jesus. Like I am good enough for him, and that's what matters. But I'm not just going to sit here and do nothing.
Yeah.
Right. You need to get up every day and work your tail off.
Yeah.
If you want anything to change.
That's true.
You listen to, David Goggins or somebody like that, who I'm sure you listen to, like, I don't know if I'm that extreme.
Yeah.
It's like, I wake up and I run, 8 to 30 miles for my first workout. I'm like, okay, like that's great. Or like, Huberman and some of those guys with the cold plunges.
Yeah.
I wake up, cold plunge for like 5 to 8 minutes. Oh my gosh. Like, I guess that gets you going and it's good.
I turned the cold water on my shower just a little bit.
And I've tried it. Like I love it after a run, like for inflammation and stuff. But there's good things that come from suffering.
Yeah.
Right. And just knowing that, hey, if you're going through something, or if you're looking for something, and anything you're putting yourself through, you're working hard towards it. You go through a little bit of suffering. On the end, like something good's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And you just got to be ready for it, and you have to be willing to like make a difference wherever you're at in your life. Where I think the Air Force had just put me in positions where, hey, we're giving you this opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to go find it.
Yeah, you don't have to create it.
Yeah. And now my eyes are just really opened on, like, and my wife's probably 100 times better at this than I am, like with just generosity and giving and things like that. If you ever have it on your heart, like it's there for a reason.
Yeah.
So don't just be silent. Like go do something, and it might get thrown back in your face at times, and that might hurt. Criticism might come your way, but at least you were there if you were needed to be there. So I look for those opportunities quite a bit. I coach flag football, for Stars in the fall, and I usually don't do it in the spring. And there's just all these signs like, hey, we're short on coaches for the spring, things like that. I'm like, well, I don't coach in the spring, so no big deal. And then I start getting like messages from the Stars pastors that are like, hey, we've got like 4 requests, for you to be on your team this spring, because they play in the fall and the spring. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not coaching this spring. And they're like, okay, well, we've got like 6 requests now. So I'm like, okay, like, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like I needed that many nudges. I should have just been like, I heard the sermon, we need coaches, like, let me go serve. Like I've got time. I'm going to go do it. But it took like 3 things. I'm like, why didn't I just listen the first time?
Yeah.
You know? And now, you know, we're coaching the spring and I'm really pumped about it. I'm excited. Like those kids are awesome and it's just recreational, but it's fun.
Well, the impact you're going to have on them is going to be, they're going to remember that too.
Yeah. And
they don't know any of that behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
They just know that you showed up on day one.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's great. And like to have even the kids just say, like, I want to be on his team again.
Yeah.
When I don't know him from anything other than just coaching them a year or two. And I know I'm a tough coach. Like I'm disciplined. Like, you know, you guys are going to work. You're not going to mess around. And I think maybe that's what they like. And that's a good thing because we want that definitely in our youth growing up to have that discipline. But you guys have probably read the One Thing, right? Where if you just do like one thing, like eventually you keep doing that one thing over and over again, or you just make some sort of stride every day, it's just going to snowball eventually. And then you're just going to be part of this thing. You're like, wow, this is, you know, really going well, but it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't have done this repeatedly over and over again.
Got to take that first step, man.
Yeah. And then when people see success, they don't see everything that went behind the success. They just see, wow, that's a really successful person. I think for, you know, going through pilot training and things like that, you get up every day, you fly 3 times. You're like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
But normally you're just so focused on that one goal and it's just put in front of you. Like you do this, you do this, you do this. And then you're all of a sudden an Air Force pilot. You're like, wow, that was cool. If anybody put that much focus and that much effort into any task, you could do anything.
Yeah, you totally could. Well, and I think what's really cool about what you just said too was like, we talk a lot about the man in the arena and like, dude, even if you don't know necessarily what direction you want to go, at some point you got to step into the arena and you just got to start working towards something.
That's right.
And you got to put in the effort and you got to put in the time and you just got to start moving in a direction. And then once you do that, like opportunity will present itself to you. So keep your eyes open, right? Because the opportunity will be there. And like you were saying, you know, and then eventually that one opportunity turns into something else that builds a skill set or whatever. And then there's another opportunity that follows that. And it's all of these incremental steps that you take that actually get you to where you want to be in life.
Yeah.
It doesn't just happen. It doesn't just drop in your lap. You have to get outside your comfort zone, right?
Like
you have to have a little courage over comfort. And
that old saying, like, you can't learn to drive a parked car.
Yeah.
You know, you got to get in and drive, and you might hit something or you might go the wrong direction or whatever, but at least you're moving. And you know what? If you're going the wrong direction, look up at TomTom and he'll tell you recalculating, turn left here, you know? And so there's your pivot and
you're going to suck at it.
Probably,
whatever you start doing, you're
going to suck
at it.
Yeah.
You know,
totally.
Ajax Birkland, he was my patch when I was in Korea, right?
Okay.
So, you know, I'm going through the IPUG, and at that point we had to draw BFM, and you just knew, like, he's like,
they don't draw BFM.
Oh, it was a hill. This is the Flug.
Probably not.
Yeah, this was Flug. This was Flug at Hill. Sorry, this wasn't in Korea. Flug at Hill, and he was like, he had a BFM ride with me, and he's like, your drawing's horrible. And I'm like, I know, I'm not an artist. Like, I can't draw. Like, I can debrief it. I can go through all this. He's like, yeah, but you're like bad. And I'm like, okay. So, you know, I fly with a couple other IPs or whatnot. And then he comes back and flies with these Apache. He's like, you just, drawing's horrible. Like, how much have you practiced? I'm like, not much. He's like, do you think you're going to get better or not? And I'm like, well, I'm going to have to get better if I'm going to get through the Flug, right? And he's like, yes.
Yeah.
And he goes, but to get better, you have to do, like, you have to just practice to get better.
Yeah, you do.
But you don't, it's like being a triathlon, right? So I do triathlons from time to time. I don't really do it anymore. I sold my bikes because I was afraid of getting hit on the road, but I got a Peloton now, so that's all good. But when you do triathlons, like, what discipline, swim, bike, or run, are you going to do the most? You're going to do the one you're the best at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, that's running, right? I'll go run all day long. I love it. I love running. Swimming, hate. Like, I could run. I can like float on the water and pull myself through 2.4 miles. Like, all good. But I hated it. Like, every time getting in the pool, like, this is horrible. Like, I don't swim well. I never was really taught. So I just don't do it. But I'm not going to get better at it unless I go practice it. And then running, I'm already good at it. So I'm really not going to get that much better at that anyway.
Yeah.
So you just have to do the things you're uncomfortable with.
You do.
To get better at them.
Now, I say all the time, if you suck at it, there's a real good chance you need to do more of it. Like,
That's right.
I suck at doing pull-ups. I always have. And I got these long ass skinny arms and I don't have a real strong, back muscles. And that's an indicator that I need to go do more pull-ups, or biking or whatever it is that you're striving for. If you struggle to read, you probably need to read more. If you struggle writing down or journaling or whatever it is that you're trying to do, you probably need to practice that a little bit more.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you were going through that transition, what led you down the entrepreneurial path? Like, how did you come to that decision?
I think I've always had that mindset, right? You can never really execute it, or I never took the opportunity to execute it in the Air Force. I think there was probably opportunities. We see, airmen doing it all the time now. But now it's popular, I guess.
Yeah.
It's easier too with the technology out there.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But when I was growing up, like, I'm interested in business, investing and things like that. And you're like, owning your own business would be cool someday. But for how we got into real estate, Terry and I always loved going looking at homes and things like that. We were here in 08 and 09. We bought that foreclosure that I was talking about that we were painting, and we would go through houses. I mean, if you were in Phoenix at that time, it was crazy how many houses were on the market and just their doors are unlocked. You could just literally go walk through them and kind of check them out and see if you wanted to put in an offer or not. And, we always loved real estate together. It was just fun for us. So when we were getting ready to move to DC, we had bought a couple other properties. I had a condo in Salt Lake and things like that. And we were just kind of repositioning ourselves, going to sell those. And, like normal people are like, I don't want to pay a realtor to sell my house. Like, sounds like a horrible idea. I'm a fighter pilot. I can do anything.
Yeah.
So I went and got my real estate license, and little did I know I didn't need my real estate license to sell my own house, but I figured it out eventually. So humbled, not that smart. But then I have my real estate license, and I'm listing our house, which now we're staying here, right? So we're going to stay in Phoenix, but we're still going to move because Terry found a house that she wanted, and it's great. That's where she's going to raise her family, and that's where we raise our family right now, and it worked out. So we're selling a house, buying a house. And when I sell a house, then the next transition, right? You sell your own house, and then friends and family want you to do it for free.
Yeah.
Okay, so you do that, but that gets you experience. Sure. So that's great. They're going to trust you with this, important transaction, and you're going to do the best you can. And I think with all of our mindsets, like, you just want to get really good at something really fast. So, I was just kind of self-taught. I had a couple mentors along the way, but I just read and read and read, and it's like, okay. And then you start having open houses and things like that, and then you get clients, and then you're like opened up to this new world of like, well, now somebody's actually willing to give me a compensation to help them with this. It's like, oh, that's business, that's sales. And you just start learning more and more and more. And really, I'm at that point, like, it's part-time, already supported. We don't have our own business. Like, I'm just a real estate agent, and just giving back and helping people. We're like, oh, that's awesome. And then you kind of see some of the other agents and things that you have to work with. And there's some that are awesome, and there's some that are not so awesome. So then you want to like protect your clients, because you're like, I'm going to be awesome for you. So you start to provide a service that you feel is great, and then they should use you because you're going to protect them the most. And, so we got into that. So now I'm helping some other people, and, Terry is like, I think this is awesome. But then I started getting really busy, and I was, director of staff and deputy MSG, and like still full-time job.
Yeah.
But I started picking up more clients, and I was like, Terry, you got to go get your real estate license.
You gotta help me out here.
Can't do this on this. Right. So I could have referred them out, but I wanted to take care of them. And the last thing you want a client to think is like they're your second priority, right? They're always like your number one priority. Yeah. Like, no, Aaron's at base, or he's doing his other job. He'll take care of you when he can. Like, like, okay, let's go somewhere else. You don't want that. So when we started to build the business, we're like, they're number one. We're going to take care of them, and we're going to do whatever it is to make that happen. So she went and got her license. We had the opportunity to then start our own brokerage, which again was a challenge.
I bet.
You're like, okay, so how are you going to do this?
Well, how does
whole new thing to learn? Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then it's yours, so you can do whatever you want with it as long as you're in line with the state.
Right.
So that's all good, and we had a blast doing that. So now we have 3 other agents on board with us to really help out, and just really look for those opportunities. We don't advertise much. We probably could do more of that, but it's all referral based, and those are the best kind of clients.
Sure.
Because they vouch for you, and they want their friends to be taken care of as much as they were taken care of.
Yeah.
And you help them out, and you do the best you can, and you just hope to continue that business going there. And we've really, really had a blast with it. I was torn, right? I was like, hey, am I going to go full-time real estate and take this on? Am I going to continue with Lockheed and keep doing that? And I love being a CIP and still continuing to give back.
Teach, yeah.
Because I love teaching, and I'm just going to cut this off after 20 years of doing this and just
it's hard.
not be able to
That's tough.
give back. And I didn't want to do that. So, with Terry being able to help out and us taking on other agents and the number of clients that we have, like we're very, very comfortable and happy with where the business is at. But your eyes are open to so many more things too on, hey, what's a business? Like,
yeah.
What does it mean to do this? And how do you do better, more efficient? How do you take care of your clients better and things like that? And then, continually keep contact with everybody and really give back. That's what we're focused on. So we try to do a couple events a year. The movie we hosted, Top Gun, it was awesome at a theater. That was a couple years ago. And, the coolest experience about that is we have, all our clients and then, just a bunch of friends and fighter pilots there as well, watching Top Gun Maverick in the theater together. And our clients who weren't military, or our friends who weren't military, they walked out of that like with their eyes this big. And I'm like, what's going on? He's like, I don't remember that for the rest of my life. And he's like, it's not about like you hosted a private theater and things like that. It was who we watched it with.
Yeah.
Because you had like Hank Canterbury in there with his flight suit from Vietnam that he probably punched out in with 2 stars and the boots he wore.
Yeah.
You had generals all the way down to lieutenants that were like mixed in with, just civilians who have never experienced anything like that. And they're like, how could you ever not remember watching like one of the biggest fighter pilot movies in the last 30 years?
That's so cool.
With them.
Yeah.
So still every time I see some of those guys that they're like, dude, this Top Gun was so awesome.
That's a cool experience.
Yeah. So it's just, we didn't know it was going to make that big of a difference, but then you see when that happens, you're like, hey, we saw an opportunity. We just went with it, planned it. And then like, look what God did with opportunity on just making a difference in people's lives and using it for good.
Yeah. You say that, you just went with it and planned it. But there had to be so much work and, missteps and, failures and successes along the way to start your own business like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I just want people to know that it's a process.
It's a process.
It's a total process. It's the things that we were talking about too, right? You make mistakes, you screw things up, and you're like, okay, well, I'll learn from that one and reapply it the next time. But that's how you do these things, right? Is you step out and you go, well, here's an opportunity, let's go seize it, and then you just start to figure it out. I mean, that's what we do on this podcast. Yeah. What we were doing when we first started this thing.
Go back to the very first episode.
We still don't. But.
Very first episode. What are the very first words? If you're a brand new listener to the podcast, the first words that come out of our mouths are, I'm a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Because on our very first episode, I had crisscrossed the wires back here and the mics and everything was all jacked up. And so it is, though. It's a process, right? It's iterative. God, words are hard. You try one thing, well, that sucked, or that didn't hit as hard as I thought it was going to. Yeah. So let me just change it a little bit. Well, you know what? Maybe we just need to throw that away and go back to concept and let's refigure this thing. We've done it with everything from how we edit these things to our thumbnails, to our social media presence, to how we market things out. And sometimes I've literally wadded things up, thrown it in the trash and just started from scratch on some stuff. And it's a process. It sucks at times, but
you got to get after it.
You do, and it never stops. That's kind of the fun part, though. If you're an adventure seeker, if you're looking at the horizon versus what's right in front of you, sometimes that part of it can be fun. Of this is an ever changing thing. Like it took us 25 episodes to get good at talking to each other, and now we're going to spend another 25 or 30 getting comfortable with talking to other people. So it never changes. It took us 10 episodes to figure out the damn video on this thing. So but that's fun. That's the fun part, though.
You just got to enjoy the moment. I go to lunch with friends, or you take those opportunities now, and there's just so much you can pour into somebody else.
Yeah.
That like I try to get to the small talk as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Thank God.
You know, because
Yes.
you're just like,
Yeah,
oh,
I hate
catching up.
chit chat.
I don't
What,
like
what are the kids doing? You know, that's great. And you already know all this stuff,
Yeah.
right? You're like, I'm ready to go. Just like, all right, here we ordered lunch. Like, what's going on in your life
Yeah, dude.
that
Let's get
you
real.
need, you know,
Yeah.
help with, or is there anything I need help with? Or sometimes you sit down with somebody and you're like, hey man, in confidence, like this is what's going on.
Yeah.
You've been through anything like this, or
Yeah.
you know, can you help me out?
That's important. And we've talked about
so
that recently of, sometimes I don't need you to solve the problem. Sometimes I just need you to listen
Yeah.
for a little bit.
Oh,
I need
absolutely.
to pour some shit out real quick, and I don't need you to try to solve it for me. Just say and nod.
Yep.
And that'll be good.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thankfully for us, I think in our communities, our brotherhoods that we've built over the decades that we've been doing this, I think that we all have those people that we can reach out to and do that.
Yeah.
I would hope that I would hope that our listeners at some point have at least one person that they can call up, and you have that one really close confidant that you can just open up and emote to.
Yeah.
Because there's so much good therapy in that.
There is. And again, it goes back to the other things that we talk about too, which is at some point in your life, you got to get specific about the people that you surround yourself with.
True. Yeah.
You know,
That
and
circle
you
of
gotta make
five,
sure
man.
that they're quality folks, and people
Yeah.
that you can trust and that you can lean on, or or be that friend that they can lean on when they need that help. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's definitely balance there.
There's reciprocity too,
Absolutely.
and that
Emotional equity.
that balance of your relationship, or your the emotional equity that you're going to put into that relationship. If you're constantly withdrawing from that, well, I'm probably not going to keep investing into that because I'm not getting anything out of this. It's a one-way door, and I don't like that. So I need somebody that I can bounce ideas off of and have them do the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's cool, dude.
Right on.
Ice, what have we not talked about, man? You came in here with an agenda. You had a whole bunch of notes.
definitely.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah. So
Guys, I think it's great what you're doing. I think it's awesome.
appreciate that.
Reaching out to those kids, and probably more than just the kids that are coming up. There's a lot of people I'm sure listening and taking a lot away from both of you. So I know this takes a lot of time. So thanks for having me
Yeah,
on.
but it's like your real estate thing, man. You find something that you think you're passionate about, or that you want to give the energy to.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
Like, this is fun.
Yeah,
Like, we
it's
have
fun for
every
us.
time we sit across the table here, we have a good time.
Yeah.
And we've got some other things that are branching out this spring, hopefully, that we're going to try. And we just, when we first started this, our goal, or at least our mission in the beginning, was to be the podcast that we wish that we would have had when we were younger men.
Yeah.
That 17 to 25 age range. And so we really thought that was going to be our target audience. And we came in here gung-ho to, we're going to mentor the shit out of these kids.
Yeah.
And what we found, man, is I just found out this morning that we have a 12-year-old that listens to this, and we've got people into their 70s that listen to this. So it really could apply to anybody. And I know that they say the riches are in the niches, and you got to niche it down and all that. But man, it's never too late to start your own journey. It's never too late to make a pivot and try something different. It's never too late to start. So take that first step, man.
Yeah.
Get in that car and fucking drive it.
Yeah, and
absolutely.
it's just like you were talking about. Like for us, this is just about trying to give back a little, and have a little impact in people's lives. You know, I remember when Roscoe and I first started talking about it, we're like, dude, if we can help one kid, one guy,
Yep.
kind of figure some of this stuff out for himself, that's enough, right?
Yeah.
Like that'll be an impact enough for us. So I think we're doing a little more than that, which is cool. But
the feedback is nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an outlet for us for sure. So it's good therapy for us to sit down and talk about some things. And even offline, we get to sit down and just nug out some ideas and really deep dive into some of the things before we even presented on the microphones a lot of times. And that part of it, I think, is the behind the scenes part of it. I think is a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
Have you guys got all positive feedback, or has it been any criticism yet?
I haven't heard any, I haven't heard any real true negativity.
Criticism. I mean, we've had people that are, folks that have reached out to us, or trusted individuals that have given us some feedback on, different aspects of the podcast, or things that we could be doing better, or trying, or things
we like that. We
but,
didn't like that, but nobody's just
not
straight
like
up coming and pooping
Internet
on.
troll. Yeah.
No, we haven't had a troll yet.
We're not that popular, so
It'll happen, right? You guys keep doing this, you're going to keep growing your following. You're going to get that first message or email and just be like,
probably
soak it in.
Yeah.
That's okay.
social media to me,
with adversity.
Exactly. That's pretty good.
the social media
It's not
stuff
the
for
worst
me
thing
is
anybody's ever
it's
said.
a one-way door.
For sure.
I go into there, I post the things that I need to post,
Yeah.
and I back away.
Right.
Like I don't go in there and read all the comments and get spun up on all that shit
I don't
because
even get on
that's a real
social
good way.
media, so.
The shitty part about it is about social media is it's given everyone a voice.
Yeah.
And not everybody that goes on there is positive. And,
Right.
and I know you guys have seen some of the things that I try to share on there. I made a decision 2 years ago that I was tired of seeing a bunch of negative shit. And Katie and I were like, you know what? From now on, we're only posting positive stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go in there and rant about anything. It's only going to be positive, motivating. Hopefully, when you go to my feed, all you see is positive stuff.
Yeah.
And not everybody's like that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Well, Ice, it was good to have you,
Yep.
man. Thanks for taking the time on
Thanks, Cass.
Sunday to come out and hang out with us.
Good to be
and
here.
answer
Thanks for the
some
coffee.
Pointed questions. You got it, brother.
Yeah.
It's good to see you. I haven't seen you since it's been a long time.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. So
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Friday. I think it was Friday.
Yeah.
so yeah, we really appreciate you, brother. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Well, good luck. Keep doing what you're doing.
Good. Great story. Thanks for coming,
Yeah,
man.
no
Cass,
problem.
anything else? Parting shots?
Be the change. Hey guys, one of the consistent topics we discuss on the Be One Change One podcast is the importance of resiliency, seizing opportunities, and choosing courage over comfort to achieve what is important to you. So if you're an outdoorsman, we would encourage you to explore Sick Bear Outdoors.
That's right. Sick Bear believes in using the symbol of resilience to empower your outdoor adventures and to experience the wildness of life's trails. Sick Bear adopts the bear's approach by fearlessly embracing nature, standing your ground, and courageously facing challenges. Get out of your comfort zone at sickbear.com. That's SICBEAR.com. Visit sickbear.com for all of your individual and family hunting, fishing, or outdoor adventure needs. Thanks for flying with the Be One Change One podcast. If you got something out of this show, then be the one and share it in your circles of influence.
You can be our wingman through our website at www.be1change1.com. That's B and the number 1, change and the number 1.com.
We invite you to be the one and join our fighter squadron on social media at Be1Change1 on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can follow us at Paul Roscoe White on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, as well as Roscoe's website, www.paulroscoewhite.com.
You can email us from the website and please leave comments, share, and ask questions, or leave ideas of things you would like to discuss on future podcasts. Most importantly, be the one that helps us win the algorithm by leaving a review on whatever platform you're listening on.
Thanks for joining. Until next time, be the one.